Hi there, everybody. Hugh here with you. Hope everybody's doing well. If anybody chimed in and checked out the live stream of the show, we played Hangar 9 in Carbondale at the Beer Garden last night. That was my first ever live stream. I'll probably do some more of that and all. And so that's good fun. Rain was threatening. We had some sprinkles on the stage for a bit while we were playing. And at one point, the camera fell over into the gravel and all. But a good amount of folks hanging out, and that felt really good. And so I appreciate you if you got to check that out or were there in person and all. So pretty cool stuff. I know a lot of folks are very interested in this other story, though, that I talked about 3 days ago on April 1st. And I've been told that it's really fortunate that a lot of folks believe it is an April Fool's joke. That's how it should stay. That my goofy self should never have talked about that in the first place. And please make people believe it's an April Fool's joke. And so it's an interesting thing about April Fools. It's I guess it's an American unofficial holiday, where you can do pranks and, trick people and tell tall tales, and you're immediately forgiven for it. Oh, April Fools. Or it's the day you can confess something, and it's on April Fools, and people are like, oh, April Fools? You're like, sure, yeah, it is April 1st, isn't it? Uh-huh. And so, fortunate timing there. And so I said I wouldn't talk about this for another year. But I could talk about other things, you know. So, old Theo, young Theo, Theo's a little bit younger than me. And so, um, Theo was an investor in the program I ran. And, so in some recent text messages, Theo actually said they didn't remember sending me anything until seeing my recent YouTube content. And particularly a video I did back right after the inauguration of the president in January last year. And so Theo was an investor and is a big fan, big champion. I think, I don't even know if they were 21 at the time, maybe 20, Theo was. And thought it was cool. I played in a band and stuff and was running this high yield investment program and making it a success. And so it seemed. And, before sending me any money, they reached out. We had had a presence on high yield investment forums. Obviously, I had a website with a contact that went straight to the email and all that kind of stuff, and reached out with a lot of messages. Hey, I'm struggling with some things. You seem cool and all, and I'd love to be able to make some more money. I'm taking care of my dad, and he's in some bad health and all. I've been burned before. A lot of us were burned on like 12 Daily Pro and some of those other programs, that were like reading ads and dumb stuff like that, and we found these things on like the Moneymaker group and the Golden Talk and the Talk Gold and the High Yip Ranks and stuff like that. And there was a bunch of different forums and all. It was kind of like pre-social media and all. He'd been burned. He'd been ripped off. And so he wanted to send me some money, but wasn't quite sure. And so I did a thing that I wound up doing for a number of different people. Uh, I said, send me your address, your e-gold address. And all right. And I sent $4,000 to Theo to his e-gold address. Now, just like everything else, crypto-wise and all the things back then, not PayPal and all, but it was irreversible. You sent money, that was that. There was no recourse. And so I sent Theo $4,000. And my hope was that you were going to use this money and it's going to change your life. And you met some stranger online and it changed your life. And you're going to keep this money and do something with it. And lo and behold, Theo turns around and sends me back $5,000 with extreme gratitude. And I know it's like, I know you're were what you said you were. This is so kind and generous. Thank you so much. God bless you. All this kind of stuff. And it's the kind of thing that makes you just exhale heavily and be like, all right. And Theo was not the only person I did that. People would send me messages. I was a pretty open book online, on the forums, talking, this 20 years ago. And I'd already received an amount of investments and all, and I would just send somebody some money. I mean, think about that. You're doom scrolling, you're trying to, make a few ends meet or something like that. You talk to somebody and they just send you at least a short-term life-changing amount of money. And there's obviously no strings due to the nature of it, that this is your gift. Do something good with it. And you have the ability to do that. But you can't. You feel like you must do something different. You must return it back to the person plus more of your own money to have a bigger return. And that happened 100% of the times, of the dozens of times I sent absolute strangers a lot of money just to have. It was kind of like message in a bottle from a deserted island kind of scenario. Just take it. At the end of the day, somebody's going to benefit from all this. Now, to be fair, it was money from other investments, that people had actually sent to me. And also, to be clear, this is bad behavior, not good. It's illegal. And under the circumstances, people who do things like that should go to prison, which I did, I promise. And so, but it was almost like I could easily count on having more money come back when I just sent it out into the world like that. And it was strange times, I know. And so, but anyhow, Theo was one of those people. And Theo didn't remember sending me any money until I started making content, and the one about the meme coins and all. And so things got bad. I did send Theo some money. Theo was doing well in the black. And then Theo sent me some more money and things got bad and I couldn't send the money back. And I got many heartfelt messages. Please, if there's anything you can do, my dad is going to get really mad if this doesn't work out. My dad's really sick. Please help me, Hugh. All this kind of stuff that made me feel really bad. And I then got kind of the impression that Theo might have been spending his father's money, unbeknownst to Dad, and was just trying to grow it, and or maybe take his amount off and put it back, or some kind of thing like that. And towards the end, I did send him some. I didn't make him whole, but I sent him an amount, and he was appreciative of that, even though it wasn't as much. I think he probably sent me more in the end after many transactions than I sent him back, and as was the case with many people. And so it came down to I was convicted and I was gonna go to prison for this stuff, and that didn't happen really very often with any of this kind of thing. I mean, there were so many of these programs, you know, um, hundreds, if not thousands, but at least dozens that were well known, and I believe they all fell apart into the nothingness at the same time with these digital currencies also uh, fell apart into nothingness. The owners convicted of, money laundering and all this kind of insane stuff. But it was the precursor to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. It worked in the same way, basically, but it wasn't near as secure, and there was a centralized place for it as opposed to, Bitcoin and those kind of cryptocurrencies, which were mined and all that, and all this kind of wild stuff that was very different, and so I went, to prison. And so, but a few days before that, I had an amount of conversations with a number of people, people that there's a kind of almost a Stockholm syndrome element, something you're involved with. And it wasn't just money transactions. Through the forums, the emails, the phone calls, I talked to a lot of people. It was the social aspect that really drove a lot of folks to be a part of something. Some people were just lonely. People were, wanting to find a community. And that was a big part of it. And it was the MySpace era, but it was before Facebook was mainstream. It existed, but in smaller, pockets. But it wasn't like everybody's grandma was on Facebook quite yet. It was getting there. It was close, but excuse me, I'm going to have a drink. And so that was a big part of it, the social element. And so just before a few days of me going to prison, after some numerous text conversations with Theo, they sent me the message about sending me a few bucks in this goofy ass shit. Pardon me. That sounded familiar, like it's like commissary money. I mean, that's kind of what it was a nice gesture. It was a kindness. This thing, this blockchain thing, mind money, I didn't care about any of that at the time. I was okay. It's $10 worth. You say that's what this is roughly worth. Fine, thank you. I didn't think about it, do anything with it. I sure wasn't investigating what any of that meant. And so that was October of 2009. I went away October 27th. I mean, I remember it very well. That's kind of a date you don't forget. And so, they sent me Theo sent the letter and said they were going to send that. And they got, and I opened it up and I think I looked at it and it's like, all right, whatever all this is. Um, he said, these are the pass keys. Uh, I know I mentioned that a couple days ago, and somebody uh, took exception to that because it's not the right terminology. I understand that, but it's what he said. So, the right terminology is seed phrase. So typically a Bitcoin address is you can access it with a seed phrase. It's like 12 random words, like micro and shaman, raccoon, bunker, wave, misery, falls, October, just random words that mean nothing. And so I'm looking at it and it's like, all right, I'm not going to process this now. So thanks, Theo. Appreciate it. And so I went to prison, got out, had a life. Life's pretty okay. It's far less volatile than it was. And, when I got out in 2011. I went to a halfway house for a bit. I was on home confinement, and then officially done with that in April of 2012. Then I was on 3 years of probation. That was fine. Nothing. Where I basically just lived and worked and did. And so after all that, I didn't really want to reach out or have much to do with anybody of that former life. I had inmate friends, other convicts that I did that time with. We spent time together there, and we talked about, oh yeah, we'll reach out and when we get out and all this kind of stuff, and didn't really want a lot to do with some of those folks. Some of them were okay, and I have talked to some since I've been out. Some people are just people, and other people are like, I don't know if I want to hang out with you, but some people I did, get to see outside, having a good life and having, it's like, wow, that was quite an experience, huh? Yeah, glad we're not doing that. And life's okay now? Yeah, for sure. You? Yeah, good. And that stuff makes you feel good, but people involved with that former life I was in pre-prison, the stuff that put me in there, I didn't really, you want to keep at arm's length a little bit. It's just kind of strange and awkward, and so it's 16 years later, and Theo wanted to reach out, because Theo forgot. They set me up with basically 10,000 Bitcoins. They'd done some mining with their computer and all, and told me the ways to access it. And I hadn't touched it. I didn't remember anything about it. And Theo didn't remember anything about it either until I started making these goofy videos. And so back last January, lo and behold, Theo sent me a copy of the letter to access it, but then also remembered they had all the information to access it. And that was a lot of Bitcoin for $10 back 16 years ago. So they started, back in January, February, checking things out. And so Theo does not like me doing these videos. Thinks I should just stop talking about any of this. Because what good does it do? Well, I don't like the stress of the heaviness of this. I didn't ask for any of this. The stress of digital currency chaos and badness kind of threw my life into a wild place. So, that being said, here we are, based on a gift that I didn't take or do anything with. Theo accessed that old account because of seeing my meme coin video from last January. And one of the recent messages was, if you try to access that, you will not find 10,000 Bitcoins in that account. I sold about 2/3 of it last October.